Good morning, everyone. It's Megan from GoGPS, and thank you for joining. Today, we're going to be covering hours of service and looking at the Drive app as well as the software portion of hours of service. Okay, so before I go ahead and get started, I just want to confirm that people can see my screen and that everything looks good. In the chat section or on the little GoToWebinar, if I could just get maybe a hand raised to confirm that everything looks good, that'd be great. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. All right. So what we're seeing right now is actually the software portion. So this is the database for GoGPS. We're going to look at this side, and then we're going to take a look at the Drive app portion of hours of service and how the driver is going to see it and how they're going to use it. Okay. So inside the software, we're going to go down to the activity section here. And at the very bottom, there's an hours of service section. All right. Under here, there is the option to take a look at duty status logs for the drivers, violations, as well as availability. So we're going to focus on the duty status logs to start with. Okay, so if I click on that, it's going to ask us to choose a specific date range. So I know specifically yesterday I did some testing on hours of service, but I think I want to do just a little bit more, kind of open it up, get some more data. So I'm going to take a look at this month, and then I'm going to choose underneath my driver's option, my driver. Okay, so I'm actually just going to take off the filter there that I have. So I get the full length of all the drivers. Okay, so for this month and my driver, and then apply changes. Okay, so we can see for today's date, I'm currently off duty, which is good. That's what I want to be. We can see my rule set that my vehicle is assigned to, and my driver is assigned to. So I'm for the Canada 7-day cycle 1. Okay, I do not have any trailers assigned. I didn't do any distance. The total duration that I've been off duty is 10 hours and 32 minutes, and I was previously assigned to Megan's Journey. Okay, so that gives you an idea of just for today's date. Now, if we take a look at yesterday's information, it shows that I was off duty and then did a pre-trip, okay, for my vehicle, a DVIR pre-trip, which if you have questions about DVIR, how to complete a DVIR, please feel free to contact us. Also, we do have videos such as what I'm doing right now posted on YouTube in regards to how to do a walkthrough for the DVIR and the software portion of it, so you can always go online and take a look at that. So you can see that I did my pre-trip. I can see that I went on duty at 11:06 in the morning. It shows you the address of where I did my DVIR and when I went on duty, how long I was on duty for. So that was for 7 minutes and 33 seconds, and as well that I was assigned to Megan Journey. Okay. We can then see that my log changed to drive. Okay. So at 11:13, same address. In drive for 24 seconds. Okay. Shows my vehicle name again. And do keep in mind that this is all just for training and testing purposes. In most cases, your drivers are going to be driving for a lot longer than 24 seconds, but mine, again, is just for testing purposes. I can then see that my log then changed to on duty, so my vehicle stopped. I was on duty at 11:13. Donnelly Drive in Simcoe for an hour and 26 minutes, and then I went off duty. Okay, and then I was off duty for 11 hours and 19 minutes. Sorry. Okay. Now, if I scroll down a little bit, we're going to see a couple more logs that I've done, just as some training and some testing. Okay. And the system will hold on to all of these logs. Again, this is the software portion that holds on to all the logs. When we get over to the Drive app itself, that system will only hold a matter of 14 days. Okay. So same thing here. We can see Tuesday, February 12th shows me doing my pre-trip on duty. The location again is is like a home address sort of thing. It shows you how long I was on duty for. Then I switched over to drive, then back on duty, then back to drive, and then off duty. Okay, so this is just an example of what the logs look like. Now, if I was to be in some sort of violation for my logs, we would be able to see it in this section here. And it would also tell me what kind of violations my vehicle was, witness to. Okay, there's lots of different violations depending on what your standards are for your area. I'm again set to the Canada 7-day cycle 1 standards, so some of mine might be different than our American friends. Okay. So from here, we can also take a look at a compliance print. Now, this is what the inspector would see when the vehicle goes through an inspection, which again, I will show you that portion on the Drive app. But from here, inside the software portion, all I would do is choose the print option at the top of the screen. Okay, we'll give it a second here to load. Okay, sorry, it's taking a few seconds here. It's just a month's worth of data, so it's quite a bit of information. Okay. While this loads, does anybody have any questions? Feel free to put it into the chat section on the chat or question section inside of the webinar, and I can kind of ask them or answer them as we go through, or at the end of the session. I will leave the training open for about 15 minutes so that we can take a look. Oh, apparently it kicked me out. Let's try it again. I can answer some questions at the end of the call if we need to go a little bit more in depth. So I'm going to try that one more time. I do apologize. Okay, it looks like it's loading. Okay, so no questions so far, so that's great. Okay, and again, this can be viewed, this print option can be viewed from any kind of smartphone, tablet. It's all available inside of the software as long as you can access it. You can download the app for the software as well, and that's just My Geotab. Okay, it would be the Fleet Solution option inside of your on your phone or your tablet. You can access it through there. So, okay, so now it's gone ahead and loaded, and we're taking a look at today's date. That's all it was able to load for me, which is fine. My computer's a bit slow, but the information is still what we need to see. So it's telling us the duty status log for myself. It says today's date, the name of the driver, tells us the company I belong to. You will need to have the driver license state and or province as well as the driver license number. It is important that you do have that inside your system. I do not require to have that data there, which is why it's left blank. Same thing with the company address. You do need to have the name of your company inside of the system as well as the address. It'll say your ELD provider, which is Geotab. It'll tell you the rule set. So my rule set for my vehicle is the Canada 7-day cycle 1. You will have to have your home terminal information put in there, your time zone. All of this data in here does need to be filled out. Okay. And then what we're looking for here is that chart that we're seeing. So we're seeing that I was off duty for quite some time. I'm still currently off duty because I've not logged into the app to review the information. Okay. And then at the bottom, it does have a list. It's only going to show me for today's date, which is fine. And my current status is off duty. Okay, if we were to choose this for a different date range, it would give us more of a list. And when we get into the actual Drive app in a few quick seconds, I'll show you what that looks like for the driver as well as the inspector. But it's the exact same thing that we're seeing here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just cancel out of that. All right, so this is our list that we're seeing just in a non-print view, but this is what the system was trying to pull. So it does have it broken down by date, the rule set, our nice little chart that we have. If there was any violations, we would see that on here as well. And that goes the same for the inspector. They would see if there was any kind of violations. Okay. So you can always put this into a report instead of just seeing it right here on the screen inside the software. So you would choose the little pie chart with the word view. And we do have some testing reports inside of our system here, so possible logout issues, driver logs reported with kilometers and time. There's lots of different ones in here, but you can either view the report in the basic report or the advanced. My suggestion would always be going for the advanced version because it's better to have more information than less. So once this opens up into a report version inside the software, you can then export it as a PDF or an Excel. So those are the two options at the top of the screen. Give it a quick second here. There we go. So it's a little bit hard to see, but that's okay. So it more or less just gives you a breakdown of the name of the driver, the first name, the last name, the date, the status, what vehicle they're assigned to, if there's any kind of co-driver or a trailer, the latitude and longitude, the full address. Mine's only just pulling, I live in a rural area, so it's just pulling up a Simcoe. Shows you the odometer at that time, the amount of distance I traveled, if it was a manual log, which it was because I manually did it inside the system, the date that it was verified, and any kind of editing date. Okay. So that's just one example of the reports that you can pull for this section. Okay. Now, if I go back to the activity tab, down to hours of service, and take a look at violations, I'm going to try and see if we can pull up some violations for either myself or other drivers for our fleet. So let's choose this month, and I'm going to select all drivers and apply changes. Okay, so we do have one here for this here is actually Kevin. So he's over on his work day, shows the date and the time that this violation was pulled, and it's showing the rule is the maximum 16-hour day limit violation driving for 23 seconds. So again, we do a lot of testing inside of our software, which is why we're getting some of these rules to be pulled, but that's, the whole point of it. If you're wanting more information in regards to this, you can choose the view logs on the far right-hand side, and it will pull up the logs as to where he went into violation. Okay, so any of these little red ones here, we can see our violations. We do see that his rule set, Kevin here has a different rule set. This is the USA Florida 70-hour, 7-day rule set. Okay, so you're going to want to choose your rule set specific to your location and what you're required to have. Okay, so this obviously has been going on for some time. And it looks like part of the problem is that Kevin was not logging out of the app. So we can see here, just as an example, Thursday, January 10th, was on duty for 6 hours and 6 minutes, and then it goes and continues to be on duty for another 6 hours and 21 minutes. So we know that that is not the case. The drive logs are what they are, and they are pulling properly. However, it does look like that he just forgot to log out. Okay. So I'm going to have to give him a call and tell him. All right. So again, this is just an example of what the logs look like and how you're going to see the violations come through. If we wanted to take a look at the availability, so if I go hours of service, availability, and it always will default for today's date. So we're going to see that all of these drivers here are off duty. So there's myself. I have a couple of different drivers in here. We have Greg, Wes, Kevin, all of us here are off, except for Kevin down here is currently on duty. He would be off, but he forgot to log out. So that's okay. Okay. So again, it does show us our cycle available for tomorrow, our rest time, our driving, all that kind of information inside this section here. So you can see who's available to go on the road. Okay. If you're interested in setting up specific reports based off of hours of service, such as wanting to know violations by type, please feel free to contact myself or our service team, and one of us can walk you through how to do that. All of the hours of service reports are going to be underneath the administration section for reports. So just keep in mind that there are, again, a lot of other reports inside the system here. We do some testing. So if I just search up HOS inside of the GoGPS database, we're seeing there's a possible logout issue, an HOS driver log report with kilometers and time. We see total hours of service violations by reason. And then we have our built-in reports. So there's the advanced HOS availability logs, the default one. There's the standard advanced HOS logs, and then the just the normal HOS violation report. Okay, and you can have these set up to manually run. So whether you want to run it just the way that I did inside the software, or you can have it on your dashboard as a one-click application report to open up on a regular basis. And lastly, you can also have it automated and emailed to you on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. So those are all of your options there. If you come into the system and there's information in regards to HOS that you're not seeing, that you're interested in getting, please, again, feel free to contact us, and we might already have a report available or have no problem customizing one for you. Okay. So that takes care of the HOS section on the software side. Now I'm going to go ahead to the Drive app and log in as a driver and show you what those logs look like, how to, go on duty, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to choose the Drive app tab here I have on the right-hand side. Okay. And just before I go ahead and get started, I just want to ask if anybody has any questions about the software side. Again, please feel free to put it in the question section or the chat section of the GoTo meeting, and I will answer it as we go or at the end of the call. So let's just take a look. All right. No, everybody looks good. Perfect. Okay. Awesome. All right. So every driver needs to be added into the software portion as a user, and then also given a password. So my username and password I do have already filled out here in the app. It also has a little plus sign here. So this plus sign is to make sure that you're selecting the proper database. Now, don't worry about the server. It is optional, but making sure that you type in, especially as a first-time driver, the name of the database that your vehicle and your user belongs to will just help things go a little bit smoother. So I do have that I belong to the Go GPS database, so that's all entered in there. And then to the far right, I'm going to go ahead and click log in. Okay, so it's going to synchronize and look for my logs, make sure that my rule set, everything looks good. So as a brand new user, it's saying that I do not have any vehicles assigned to me, which is fine. Um, Also, if you're on a smartphone, tablet, Garmin, and you're out in a yard with a lot of different vehicles around you, this will pull up vehicles based off of proximity. So if you are close to a bunch of vehicles, it'll give you a list of them. Because I'm doing this on the computer through the Drive app, I'm not close to a vehicle. It's not going to pull anything up for me. But that's okay. I'm just going to click inside the search field here and hit my space button, and it's going to give me a list of all of the vehicles that belong to Go GPS. Okay. So I'm just going to scroll down here, select my vehicle. Okay. Now it's asking me if I have a trailer. So my specific vehicle does not have a trailer. However, you do have the ability to attach a trailer, and trailers can be added inside of the software itself to be able to select from a list, a drop-down list inside of here. For this case, I'm just going to go ahead and hit continue because I do not have a trailer. Now it's also asking to attach shipments. I do not have a shipment. I don't have anything to add to this, but again, it does give you the option to go ahead and do so. I'm going to hit continue, so I have no shipments attached. Okay. And now it's going to show me about the DVIR. Now, I already did a DVIR training session last month about how to do the walkthrough, all that kind of information. So I'm going to go ahead and skip this portion. If you have questions about it, again, you can contact myself or the service department, or even go on to YouTube and Google Go GPS DVIR, and you'll be able to get that video of me walking through how that portion works. Okay, but what it's showing me here is that the DVIR was last completed on February 27th at 11:11 a.m. So that was yesterday morning I completed it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit the skip button because I don't necessarily want to worry about doing a DVIR right now. I just want to take a look at my dashboard and focus mainly on the hours of service. So right now, you're going to see a bunch of other little items down here. Again, this is because we do a lot of testing. We do switch from Canada to the States for border crossing, stuff like that. We do use a specific add-in for fuel tracker, Geotab roadside, all that kind of stuff. If you have questions about what you're seeing here and you're interested or just want more information, please let us know and we'll be more than happy to help you with that. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the HOS tab on the left corner here. Okay, and it's going to pull up and show me my information. So it says that I have 13 hours of drive time left for today based off of my Canada 7-day cycle 1, saying I have restoration of 22 hours and 9 seconds. So it gives a nice clean breakdown of what information you have and how much time you have left for each individual section. So drive time, duty time, work date, and then your cycle for the week. Okay. So right now I'm sitting at off duty. When you log into the app, you select your vehicle just like we did, and then you do a DVIR. It automatically puts your vehicle to on duty when you do your DVIR inspection. Excuse me. So that gives you like your 15 to 20 minutes to complete your DVIR, making sure that everything looks okay. And if not, then you can kind of take the next steps if it's a critical or a normal defect, you can deal with that situation at that point in time. Okay. So I'm manually putting myself to on duty because this is what we want to see. Now, from here, once I've done my DVIR, I'm on duty, I can now go ahead and drive. I do not have to click any of these specific buttons. Okay. The vehicle, once it has some motion to it movement, it will then automatically click over to drive for me. So I don't have to choose to change any of these statuses. Okay, so I'm gonna drive for a little bit and then I'm going to stop, and the vehicle, again, once it senses that it's been stopped, it will then put me to on duty. At this point, this is how your logs kind of get calculated and put into the system. Now we're seeing at the top of the screen here that we are looking at our statuses, which is great. We also have that graph option. So if I hit the graph button, okay, we're going to see that nice little clean graph that we saw earlier inside the software section. We're going to see my starting odometer and my ending odometer. So right now they're fairly close to the same. I didn't do too much driving today. Okay, so we're going to see that information here. If I had any violations, it would let me know. If I was in personal conveyance at any point in time, it'll also let me know. Same thing with my yard move. Now, these are two options that inside of the software, as an administrator, you have to give permission to your driver to use those items. Okay. So we're seeing our nice little graph here. Again, I can go back and select different dates. This was for yesterday that we're taking a look at now. Okay. And the system itself, like the Drive app, will only hold 14 days. That's as far back as it's going to go. Okay, perfect. So if I wanted to keep going back a couple of days, I could. Not much has changed. I'm not required to do HOS or DVIR, so that's why we're not really seeing too much going on here, but that's okay. I'm going to go back to my day for to date. Here we go. Okay, so that's the graph. If we wanted to take the logs, we could take a look at the logs inside the system. So now we're seeing each individual dates broken down. So we're seeing February 29th. I'm currently on drive status right now. It is calculating as the minutes go. So if I was to refresh this, this would now be at 2 minutes. Okay. We're seeing my previous log was at 10:50 a.m. I went on duty, and then prior to that, I was off duty from the night before. Okay. Right. We can see the DVIR pre-trip was completed yesterday. So all that information is also available in the app for you to take a look at as a driver. Okay. Right. To the far right, we do have our options section in here, and this is where it shows our current driver, time zone, the home terminal. I myself have the ability to change my rule set. Not all drivers do. That is, again, something that an administrator would have to allow the driver access to change. So I can change to the American rule set if I choose to, but not all drivers have the ability to do that. Okay. It does have my start of day, so that's at midnight or 12 a.m. And then it says the inspection mode has been moved to the dashboard. So originally, this is where our inspection button would have been, but now it's been transformed and put onto the dashboard. So I'm going to go ahead and click the dashboard option, and there's our inspection button. Okay, so if your vehicle goes through an inspection, you're going to want to click that inspection button and then hand over the smartphone, tablet, Garmin to the inspector for them to complete their inspection. So there's two tabs at the top. We're taking a look at the hours of service and then DVIR. So at this point, the inspector would put in their information, like their officer code or any kind of additional comments, and then they're going to want to choose the compliance print. So that's the same thing that we saw inside the software that we can access as administrators. This is also what they're going to be able to see, but with only 14-day information. So we're seeing that ELD report information for record date, so today's date, the carrier, the ELD provider, which is Geotab, the driver's name, ID information. You will have to have your driver's license state or province, driver's license number, all that kind of information needs to be filled out. And then it gives us our cute little graph and then our breakdown of status logs for the day. Okay. And if there's any kind of violations, again, they're going to see it inside this section here. If I go back to yesterday's date and scroll down, we're going to be able to see yesterday's information. Okay. So that's for the hours of service. Now, if they wanted to take a look at the DVIR to see what was completed, they can choose the DVIR tab at the top of the screen, see the last time the inspection was done, choose the review button. Okay, so again, it'll tell you company name, name of the vehicle, the date that it was done, what type of inspection it was done. This is a vehicle, not a piece of equipment or a trailer. If there was any defects, it would say the defect and what like any additional information. And then they can take a look at the defect list used. Okay, so they can view it from this section here. If you are unsure about what defects are for your location, please feel free to give us a call and we can help you walk through that because there are critical and normal defects. Again, you can always reference the DVIR training session that I did for last month. So we can see here for my specific vehicle that we're taking a look, and we're seeing some of them here are major. Major is critical, okay? And then some of them here are black, which means that they're just normal defects. If there's any kind of critical defects, then you're not going to be able to drive the vehicle, okay, before it's fixed. So I'm not going to get into too much in regards to that, but this is the vehicle DVIR inspection list that the inspector is going to want to see, okay? And then once they're done, they're going to get out of it. They're going to go ahead and choose the back button on the DVIR, and then they're going to want to close out of it. So the closing out of it is at the top right corner with the X. At this point, they're then going to return your smartphone, tablet, Garmin over to you, and then it puts you back onto your regular dashboard for you to continue on with your day. Okay. So again, in here, there's our information for our HOS. We can take a look at viewing exemptions. So in here, we do have adverse driving conditions, off-duty or deferral, yard move, and personal conveyance. So if you choose to allow your drivers to have access to those items, they are inside of that view exemptions section here. If your driver needs to do a yard move or maybe a mechanic needs to do a yard move, they can log in, choose to start the yard move, complete it, and then log out of the system. So that's one of the huge things that we do need to kind of discuss in regards to making sure that the drivers are logging out each and every, not necessarily day, but after they're done their shift for that day. Okay. So if I am coming up to a stop now and I'm going to be done for the day, I would have to make sure that, yes, I'm going to go on duty because that's when I stop, the vehicle automatically goes on to on duty. I'm then going to want to turn myself to off duty and log out of the app. So that's the only time the driver has to actually touch the status options is if they're either going into sleeper berth or they're going off duty for that day, or for if they're done their shift. So I'm going to hit off duty, and at the top right, I'm going to choose my username, and I'm going to log out. Okay. I do want to point out here that we do have an option to add a driver to the system so you can have a tandem team for drivers. If you have questions or want to get into further information about that, please feel free to let us know and I can walk you through that. For this training session, I'm going to go ahead and just hit log out. Okay, it's prompting me to do another DVIR for post inspection. I do not want to do a DVIR, so I'm going to skip. In most cases, your system is probably only going to require you to do a pre-trip, but if you would like, you can do a post trip. It's completely optional. I'm going to, for training purposes, just go ahead and skip. It's then going to ask me to verify all of my logs for today. Okay. If you log in and it asks you to verify logs, or when you log out and asks you to verify logs and they don't belong to you, you do have the option to skip. You do not want to ever take logs that do not belong to you because it will change your specific logs and maybe even put you into violation. Okay. If you are noticing that there are logs prior to you that haven't been verified and don't belong to you, please talk to your administrator, especially if you are a driver. Please talk to the administrator and we'll help them assign them to whichever driver that they belong to. Okay. So I know that these are my logs. I'm going to go ahead and hit verify all days. And this is my, for most drivers, you have a drive log and you have to sign off manually at the end of the day. This is my digital signature. I am now hereby certifying that the data entries and my records of duty status are true and correct. So I'm going to go ahead and hit agree, and it's going to log me out of the system. Okay. So the good thing about this app is it will hold on to your username and password as well as your database. So if you are a consistent user in that vehicle, it will hold on to it. If not, all you would have to do is just put in your username and password, but it will hold on to the database. So that's another good thing. Okay. So I think that that pretty much sums it up for the hours of service. If anybody has any questions, I'm going to open up the board here to see if anybody does. I think everybody looks to be good so far. No questions, which is great. If you do have any questions, please feel free to contact GoGPS, either myself or our service department, and that's at service@gogps.com, or you can call us at 1-866-964-6477. All right, everybody, that is it for me. So I hope everybody has a great day. And next month, we'll actually be doing a couple other training sessions twice a month. We're going to be taking a look at proximity as well as a custom report. So I guess it would be an email will be sent out tomorrow in regards to those. So just keep an eye out for that. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.